Hello again, internet. And I know in all these videos I mess with my hair a lot. I just think it looks weird. I'm sure you don't care, but in case you're wondering why you mess with your hair a lot, I always think it looks weird. But anyways, so over the summer I took my certified nursing assistant exam and I passed. Thank you, thank you. I am certified to wipe ass now. So your girl's pretty top right now. But no, so I know when I was about to take my CNA exam, I was looking up all these videos about my CNA exam experience and how to pass your CNA exam. So I just thought I would make one on my experience. So if you can't tell by my hoodie, I live in Michigan. So I took the Michigan CNA exam because it varies from like state to state on certain, regulations and not regulations, certain procedures, like how you can fold a towel to clean someone or like if you need a barrier towel. So obviously if you're taking your CNA exam, you've already taken your CNA class, so you probably already know kind of all those procedural things. So getting right into it, again, I took mine over the summer, and where I went to go take my CNA class, they also had a testing facility there. So I just went straight to the place where I went to the place where I took my class. I went to their testing facility. So actually, fun fact, the first time I missed my exam because I put it in my schedule wrong, like I put it for the wrong month. And so that was like over $100 down the drain. I almost cried on the phone when I was trying to call them because it was literally the day of that I had like recognized, like I was checking my email. I'm like, oh yeah, let me check the date again. And it happened to be that day. So I was just like, well, fuck. So yeah, so don't do that. Definitely don't do that. That's probably rule number one. Second thing, get there early. Okay, so this is kind of me just getting into, the actual testing experience. So, for me, where I took my class, so since my class had a testing facility, they told us, oh, we'll expect this, we'll expect that, we'll expect this. So for us, they told us to get there 30 minutes early. So our exam was at 9 a.m., but you were supposed to be there by 8:30. So if you did not, or was it at 8 a.m.? No, I forget. It was either 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. I really don't remember, but I do know we were supposed to be there a half an hour before the exam was supposed to start. So if you did not get there a half an hour before the exam started, they said they would shut the door, lock the door, and you would not be allowed in. That is what they said, but that is not what happened. So basically, like, I guess they probably tell you that because they're like, you need to get here early because they don't want to wait for you. Like, if at 9 a.m. they're starting the exam, they don't want someone to, like, bust in running and be like, okay, I'm ready for my exam. And it's just like, we've been waiting. So anyways, so I got there early and they said that we would need 2 forms of ID, and I brought 2 forms, but they only really checked for 1, which is whatever, I guess. And then, so they all had us sitting in this room. We had to read this form and sign it. So when you're doing the clinical part of, when they're actually testing the skills part of your exam, for some skills you need an actual human person. So you're going to be partnered with someone. And basically you have to sign this form saying that, yes, I understand that this person might have to feed me something, or I might have to lie in bed, like just saying that you're okay with doing all those things. Then they just sat us in like the lounge area, the sitting waiting room, whatever. And we just sat there and waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. So they told us to get there early, but so they have an actual nurse there who's going to watch you do all your skills to make sure that you do them correctly. Our nurse, got there, kind of really late. I mean, I don't know if it was really, really late, because, again, we got there, a half an hour before it started, so maybe, we waited 30 minutes for her, so she got there at 9 a.m., so it wasn't really that long of a waiting period. But I feel like she got there late, because, at one point they're like, okay, put your phones away. If your phone goes off, your whole test is void, and whatever. So that really kind of irritated me, because they were so strict on us, you gotta be on time, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. But then this nurse is just, late, and I'm just like, the fuck? So she was really late, so I actually kind of didn't like her, no shade, but also shade, because, she just, I don't know, she walks in, she says hi to the lady at the front desk, because there was someone at the front desk, and then there was the nurse that was going to be watching us do our skills, and she walks in late, she doesn't say hi to any of us who are waiting to take our exam, and then she goes in the back, and she grabs water I forget if we actually used the water for one of, yeah, actually we did use water for one of our skills, and I'll talk about that later. But she walked into the lounge area, the waiting room area, where they had a water cooler, and she went in there, got her water, did not look at any of us, because I made sure to, like, smile and, you know, try and say hello, and she just kind of, like, didn't respond, just pretended like we could have not been there and there wouldn't have been the difference. So already I kind of didn't like that. Like, you should know we're nervous. We, you know, come on, just like the lady at the front desk was so nice. She's like, oh my gosh, you know, you guys don't be nervous, you'll be fine, you know, if you studied, like, yeah, of course she didn't say, oh, you'll all pass. She's like, you know, if you studied, you'll be fine. If you've been practicing your skills, you'll be fine. So yeah. And just as a kind of a side note, you can't expect to do well if it's been like a year. Can you even wait a year? Yeah, you can. Can you? No, you can only, I forget how long you have to, I forgot all this stuff. Like, once I passed, I was just like, bye. But once you, like, take your class and pass, your certificate, like, so I know you can only work for, like, maybe, like, 4 months with only that class certificate. But I think you have to take your exam within, like, 2 years, because then that expires. Like, your certificate from class expires, and then you have to retake the entire class again if you don't pass your exam. So just know, if you're waiting, don't wait a really, really long time from taking your class to take your exam. Take it while it's fresh in your mind and you remember everything. So just don't make that mistake. So moving on. So basically the lady was just kind of rude. And while I was waiting, like, the whole time I was there, I was like, okay, as long as I'm not the first person to go, I will be fine. I just, like, it was just in my mind, like, as long as I'm not first, I will absolutely pass this exam. If I am the first person to go, I will not do well. And of course, your girl was in the first group. So luckily my partner had already taken her skills exam, and she had, what did she say she did wrong on it? So I think she had respiration or pulse, one of the two, and she said she was off by one too many in those two skills, because if you're taking pulse or respiration, you have to be, like, you have to get a similar number to the nurse who's, like, watching you, because she will also take the pulse of the person, and she will also do the respiration of the person. So if you don't get the number that she gets, if you don't get it close enough, then you just, you know, you fail skills. So yeah. So my partner had already, you know, done all this, and so that kind of, and she ended up going first, which made me feel a lot better. Like, I'm sorry if you're, like, the first person of the first group to go. Like, I'm sure this isn't very helpful. I mean, obviously you don't know that until, like, tomorrow or whenever you expect to take your exam. But, yeah, so for me, it was really, really helpful to watch someone else do it, because it kind of gets you in that mindset, like, you know, you're all, like, you're shook, and then, you know, you watch someone do it, and you're like, okay, it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was. So anyways, so the nurse calls us back, and we go into doing our clinical, or our skills. Of course, my partner went first, as I mentioned, and the nurse just grabs a chair, puts it in the middle of the room, she's like, you, sit. And, like, I was just like, me? Like, and then I just go and sit, and I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah. So my partner went first, and she had ambulation, feeding, and nail care. So all of her skills were actually on me, which I would have killed for her skills, because I'm like, oh my god, these are all, like, I thought they were all super easy. So first of all, her first one was actually feeding, and all they had was pudding, and I hate pudding. I hate pudding. I literally hate pudding. Cannot stand it. Hate pudding. And all they had was vanilla. They didn't even have chocolate pudding. Vanilla pudding. Ugh, it was disgusting. I hated it. But of course I wasn't going to be like, no. Like, I already signed the form and everything, so I'm like, fine, whatever, I'll suffer. So she feeds me pudding, and she does her skill, and she was really nervous, I could tell, because she was just like, wait, I did something wrong. And if you do something wrong in your skills, all you have to do is say, hey, I did this wrong, I need to correct it, and then you go ahead and correct it. Now, that means that, like, if you acknowledge something and correct it, then they won't give you, like, the point off for, like, missing something. But if you just say, hey, I messed up, and you don't correct it, then they're just like, okay, what did you mess up on? Like, you need to know, like, they need to know that you know how to fix your mistake. So my partner was just like, wait, I messed up on something. And she's just like, I messed up and I'm correcting my mistake. And she's like, well, you know, it still counts against you if you don't fix it. Basically, she was feeding me, and I don't know. This is kind of like a small little side note. Like, I don't think it's detrimental to, like, you passing or not. But when you're feeding a resident, I mean, A, you're supposed to sit down. And B, you're supposed to, like, clean their hands just as, like, a courtesy. At least that's what I was taught at my CNA class. It's just, like, courtesy to clean their hands for them. So, yeah, so that was the thing that she had messed up on. And she was looking at me for clues. And I was like, I don't know what to fucking tell you. I'm not trying to get, like, kicked out for cheating. So yeah, so then she did that, and then she had ambulation, and that's just when you walk the patient. So you put a belt around them and you walk them around. So then she, like, went through all the steps of that. She walked me back, and then it was fine. It was good. Then she had nail care. Nail care. So basically, when you're doing these skills, like, other than, like, feeding and ambulation, like, everything else you can kind of, like, pretend to do, I guess. Like, you could pretend to feed me, but, you know, what's the point? I'm an actual human. We have actual food. You can just actually feed me. But as for nail care, like, I don't know you. I don't want you to cut my nails. I don't want you to do anything with my nails. So, like, let me explain. So she was, like, nail care, and then so I was sitting in my chair waiting for her. Like, this whole time I was still sitting in a chair in the middle of the room. So she's doing nail care, and she grabs, like, you know, the tub, and she puts my hands in it, and as far as I know, you're just supposed to soak the hands for, like, 15 minutes. You're just supposed to let them soak, which seems like a really long time. So I don't know if they actually do that in, like, real life, where they just, like, okay, I'm going to do your nails, so sit in hot water or sit in warm water for 15 minutes. Like, I feel like nobody really does that. So she just put my hands in, and then she started washing them. Like, she got, like, a soap towel and a rinse towel, and I was just like, okay, I guess. So I don't know if she got marked down for that or not. And then she, like, started cleaning under the nails and, you know, filing them. Or no, then she started cutting them. Like, she didn't actually cut my nails, but I could literally feel, like, the nail clippers, like, bending my nail. And I was just like, you don't need to do that. Like, you can just pretend. Like, the nurse isn't gonna, like, sit there and see if you're actually, like, cutting their nails. Like, she's just gonna, like, okay, she's cutting her nails now. Okay, that's fine, whatever. And she only did one of my hands. So I don't know if during, like, maybe on her, because they gave us, like, a sheet that said, you know, all the skills we were supposed to do. I don't know if it just said wash right hand, wash left hand, but I thought you were supposed to do both. I don't know. She, like, washed both my hands. I don't know. So then she does that, and I was just like, in my head, I'm like, okay, if you cut my nails, I will be pissed. But she didn't. She did bend them a little, but it's fine. She was probably nervous. And then that was all her skills, and then it was my turn. What skills did I have? I don't even remember. I know I had peri-care. Luckily, oh my god, I'm so glad I did not have bed making. I hate bed making. It was the worst. Honestly, the worst. When we had to do it in clinicals and when we just did it practicing. And then what else did I have? And I had, what is it called? When you're, like, stretching, like, you have to do abduction and adduction. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? You probably know what I'm talking about. Range of motion. It's called range of motion. I had to do range of motion, like, arm. Like, so I think it was like, oh, wow, this is bad. So I had to do the arm thing, and then this, and then this. And then I had another one that I don't remember. I'll probably remember it later. But anyways, so here's the one thing. So I knew when I was doing range of motion. Oh, and I had pulse. That was my third one. But I knew when I was doing range of motion, like, I did everything perfectly. I vividly remember saying, okay, I'm going to do range of motion on your arm now. If you feel any pain or discomfort, you let me know and we can stop and we'll see what we can do, okay? And I remember her saying, yes, okay, that's fine. She literally responded to me saying that. So I do all the range of motion and stuff. And then I'll explain why I said that, like why I emphasize that later. But then I had peri-care, which I did on the mannequin, or Mrs. Johnson. And I did peri-care, and I think I had, like, messed up, and I was like, oh, I forgot to get this. I need to go correct it. And then I just ran and went to go get it. I passed. So obviously I did fine on these. And then I had pulse. And pulse was the scariest one. Because, like, that's the one that you either pass or fail. And I took her pulse, like, 3 times. And I, like, lost count. so many times just because I was just like that nervous. So I just said something like 60 because I'm like, okay, this is like an average girl, average size girl, like maybe her pulse is just literally 60. So luckily, I mean, obviously I passed, so like that was obviously within the range, but like it was so nerve-wracking not knowing if I had passed or not, because like that was the one thing that I knew I must have messed up on. But anyways, and then after we did our skills, because me and my partner hadn't taken like our, written exam portion, so everyone else had done the written exam, and then when we got done with our skills, they had already been done with their written exam. So then the written part is so easy, like basically common sense, like, oh, you walk in on why is this the first example that comes into my head? You walk in on a resident masturbating, what do you do? Like, shame them, evacuate everyone for the room, or just like give them privacy? Like, just give them privacy, they're old, they masturbate, I mean, it happens. But yeah, so basically the worst part about this was that like we just had to wait. Like, so the lady at the front desk had left. Like, when we got back, she was, like, leaving. She's like, okay, bye. So we only had the lady that was running the skills, and they give you a sheet of paper that says whether you passed or not. And you have to, like, that's your results. Like, you know if you passed or not when you get those results. And we just had to wait. Like, I was waiting there legitimately like an hour and a half, waiting just to get a piece of paper. Like, I'd already done my exam, and I was waiting there for like an hour and a half. And I was just like, and I had class, so I was just like, dude, I need to leave. Like, I need to go now. So, luckily, the lady, like, stopped in the middle of, like, doing all the clinicals, or all the skills, clinicals, you know what I'm saying. And then she gave me my results, and I was just like shaking, like, literally I was shook. And then I read my results, and it's like, passed, and I was like, oh my god, I'm a CNA. But also, so on your piece of paper, that when they say that you passed, they tell you, what mistakes you made. On my range of motion, she wrote, did not, tell the resident, that they would stop if any pain, did not ask them to tell them if they experience pain. That was one of the first things that I did. Now, I know I'm kind of salty, but, like, I know that I did that. Like, I know for a fact that I did that, and that was the only thing she marked me off on, and literally, that was just false. Like, the girl responded to me saying, if you have any pain, tell me and we can stop. Like, come on. Ugh. But anyways, so that was my experience taking my CNA exam. My advice to you, if you're about to take your CNA exam, is study, know the procedures, the written part, still, if you really, really feel like you don't know, then of course study, but I feel like if you got through the class and passed, like, I'm sure you'll be fine on your written exam part. Just don't be nervous. I know that's the least helpful. It's the least piece. Wow, that sounds so dumb. That is probably the least helpful piece of advice that I can give you, but, I know you're going to be nervous, but take deep breaths. You will be fine. You're more likely to mess up if you're, like, shaking and you're nervous rather than if you're just calm. Just do some square breathing exercises, some deep breathing exercises. Reassure yourself that you got this. Just know in your head that you have got this. It's not that bad, and you will be fine. Just know your procedures. That's all I can say. And yeah, so that is my best piece of advice to you. If you're taking your exam, good luck. Oh my goodness. I'm sure you'll be fine if you studied and if you know, obviously, the procedures. Like, if you don't know them, you're probably not going to pass. But you might not get that skill, so maybe a little luck has to come into play too. But, so again, good luck to anyone taking their exam, and I will talk to you guys later. You're such good listeners. Oh my god, thank you. Bye.